Welcome to this quick tutorial on how to retake a test. So we've gone over this in class, but I want to create this video so if you were absent or if you've forgotten things, it's all right here for you. So I created this to be like a checklist. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you've completed your missing later unmet work and everything is turned in. Check Infinite Campus. I don't want you to come in and say, I didn't know I was missing these 5 assignments. I didn't know, because we talked about that. The bottom line is, if you want to know, you can check, you can ask. So if you don't know that you're missing, I'm a little worried about that. It's almost like you're choosing not to use one of the resources to find out. Now, if you are missing 2 or less assignments, I'm still going to let you retake the test. But if you're missing 3 or more, you're going to have to get worked in. So I will accept missing work from you up until the day of the retake. So don't come in on the day of the retake missing 6, 7, 8, 9 assignments and say, I didn't know I was missing these. Make sure you check and make sure you get your work turned in. And you want to get it turned in ahead of time. Don't come in the day of the retake and say, here are my 6 assignments. Otherwise, if I have 7, 8, 9 kids wanting to retake a test, I don't have time to go through all that stuff right there in just a couple of minutes. Now, make sure you correct all your wrong answers and you put all the corrections on another sheet of paper. You're going to have to turn these corrections in order to retake the test, but you can use these corrections on a retake. And we're going to go over the format in a little bit. So if it's the online part, you're going to have to correct them all. If it's the written part, you kind of got a little wiggle room. What I mean by that is if you're only 2 points short of getting a proficient grade and you lost 10 points in the written part, that's the part I would take over first. And if you only need 2 more points, you only have to correct a few problems. You only have to take a few problems. You only have to take the ones you got wrong. So you just have to earn enough points in order to get proficient. The online part of the test, it's a Google form. I can't pick different questions that you have to answer. You have to take the whole thing again. And again, you can use the corrections if they're done well and you met my expectations. So what are those corrections going to look like? They're going to look like this. You always rewrite the question. So for example, in the first test of the year, measure the amount of matter in an object. What's the correct answer? Mass. That's not enough. If this is all you have, more than likely you took someone's test, you wrote down the question, and you just wrote down the answer. And that's not making corrections. What I want from you is at least one sentence explain why this is the correct answer. So how did you find it? Where did you find it? So you might say, well, I reread the mass activity, that mass is a measure of the amount of matter in a substance or an object. Or you might say, I Googled the measure of amount of matter in an object, and it gave me mass as the answer. That tells me that you're looking for it. And if you're looking for it, it's going to stick in your mind a little bit better, well, a lot better than simply copying it down from someone who did well on the test. So here's another example. The metric system is based on multiples of, well, 10. So your explanation might be, when I looked over the measurement quiz, I saw that the metric system is based on multiples of 10. We've done that in class. You've taken questions on that in some of the quizzes. This is the format I'm looking for. If you don't have this format, you're not going to be allowed to retake the test. Now, make sure you study for the retake. Make sure you understand that you'll need to retake the entire online test, but you can pick and choose what you want to take from the written test, as long as you take enough so you can get enough points to be proficient. Now, you also have to have the original test with you on the day that you retake the test. And think about it. If you only want to take a few of the written tests over, if you don't have the original test, I don't know what you got wrong. I don't know what you got right. So you're going to have to retake the entire test over if you don't bring in the original. So don't lose it. Don't throw it out because you were mad because you didn't pass the first time. You're going to need the test. So you got to study. Do these 2 questions look alike? Well, no, they're not alike. They're a little bit different. Did you notice that this question was on the actual test and this was the question on a practice test? How many of you retook the practice test? I allowed you to take the first one in class, once in class. But in other units, I may not, allow you time in class, but I'll post it and you can retake it. And I have it set that you can take it as many times as you want. And I told you in class, take it multiple times, take it every night. And then hopefully you're studying the ones you got wrong and you keep getting better and better and better. Now, here's another example. Did you notice this was on the practice test? This was the actual test. So if you got this wrong on the actual test, you already saw it on the practice test. These two questions are identical. This one right here, this was on the measurement, not the measurement practice test, but it was on the measurement checkup or the measurement quiz. And then it was also in the actual test. So here again, did you go back through your quizzes? Did you go back through your checkups? Did you look at the ones you got wrong? Did you study them? Because I told you every time we took one of those checkups, I said, when you get done, take a look at what you got wrong. Study what you got wrong. These are going to be on the test. If you didn't, well, I warned you. I told you that they're going to be on the test. So make sure you heed that warning in the future, that you go back through, you look at what you got wrong. We're trying to make you as successful as you can. You just have to help yourself. Where was this? This question was on the actual test, but it was also where? Do you remember? This was in the density activity, which was part of the giant measurement lab that we did over the course of 4 or 5 days. Did you remember this question? It was on the online part of the test. Does it look familiar to the density exploration lab? Yeah. So when it comes to the actual tests, we're pulling those questions from our labs. We're pulling them from the readings. We're pulling them from the quizzes or check for understandings. We're pulling them from the practice test. So again, we're not trying to trick you on the actual test. We're telling you right out, this is what's going to be on the test. This is what you need to know. If you do these things, the test will be easy for you. But if you don't pull all these things together, if you don't study, if you think, oh, I'm just, as long as I attend class and try hard, I'm going to pass, well, it may not always work for you. Now, the last thing I'll tell you, if you need help, you can come in during lunch. If I'm not in my room, check Mr. Phillips' room right next door. I'd be happy to help you. I just don't want you to think, oh, Mr. Ratoon's never in his room. He never wants to help me. You can come in for lunch anytime you want. Heck, if you want to come in, we can be lunch buddies for the rest of the year, and I can help you study. I can help you do all these things. We can become best friends if that's what you want. I'd be willing to do that for you if you ask for help. So good luck on the retakes. Take the retakes, and I hope you do well.